What up? It's your boy Steven, aka the Visualizer. I'm going to start up a new video series. A couple friends have mentioned that they wanted to hear more about my journey in depth, and a lot of people that I've shared some of the details with have really been inspired. So, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all some insight now that I'm kind of have some more space away from some of the crazier events that have happened to me, and just kind of detail some of the shit I've been through in the past year in hopes that it's either entertaining or helpful or inspiring. so, in general, what you need to know about me for those who don't know me, um, I had a spiritual awakening last year. You can Google that, and changed my life, changed my outlook on life. And I was living a very unfulfilled life, and it made me question everything. And since then, I have taken a pretty radical change in my path and my journey, looking for fulfillment and purpose in my life. And I am still in the middle of that journey, and it's been a crazy ride. And I wouldn't take back anything that I've done so far, despite kind of how challenging it's been. So, for this first episode, I really want to talk about who I was and what my thought process was before the crazy shit happened to me that made me decide to go in another direction. Because people that know me, they don't really know the real me. I had a mask on for many, many years where I've really, from the outside in, probably looked like I had my shit together, like I was super sharp, I was successful. I worked really hard to move up and had a great corporate IT job, was making a lot of money, and I had, all the material things that you could want. I was super generous to everybody with my time and effort, and, was generally a good friend and a good family member to those who I kept close. And yeah, on the surface, you'd be like, this guy has kind of almost everything except for, I never have had a partner due to low self-esteem issues, and that's important. Been an important part of this journey. Looking for that. I still haven't found it, and I'm hopeful that that's going to happen soon. So let me dial back a little bit. I'm going to try to keep these videos brief because I don't want to go for more than like 10 minutes, and we'll just chunk it up. So I think it would help to know kind of where I came from. So as a kid, I was relentlessly bullied in school up until 5th grade because I was super smart and just nerdy. In 4th grade, I was also bullied at home. There was a bully that lived right next door to me that was like 4 years older than me and like a foot or two taller, and he like could overpower me. So there was not much relief, home or school, from just being, constantly under duress. In 4th grade, it got really bad, and I tried to commit suicide in school by sticking scissors in an electric socket. Thankfully, I wasn't smart enough to do it right. I don't know if that would even kill you, but the scissors had plastic handles on them, and I just caused kind of an incident. But when that happened, it should have been really a wake-up sign to the people around me, but it wasn't. My parents, great people, they did a good job raising me, but they did not know how to show love, express themselves, or communicate very well. And we had a very detached relationship. And because of that, I grew up kind of not in a loving environment. Like, we rarely ever had like family dinners together. We didn't talk about anything, feelings or whatever. Everything was very surface level. So that's how I kind of learned how to live. And, just never really got close to anybody for that reason, because I didn't know how. And then, I had a real weird childhood where the racial dynamic of where I lived completely changed and did a 180. I lived in like a mostly white, kind of multicultural neighborhood. And then when I was in like 4th or 5th grade, the city got deemed as a Section 8 city, where they give out free housing to like, people that are struggling. And pretty much they bought up everyone's houses, and the entire neighborhood turned into like a black community, which was fine. But it was a complete kind of culture shock to me as a kid, especially at that age. All my friends moved away, and I had to make new friends. And then these people, had different backgrounds than I was used to. So I had to either kind of be the outcast, which I was for a few years, and then learn how to integrate and just, learn how to live in the hood, basically. So that was weird. That did not help kind of my social development, as I was always, the white boy in the clique or whatever. That was going up until like I was in college, basically. That's just kind of how I ended up growing up. High school and college were like nightmares for me, torture. I really tried to find myself in different ways, and everything kind of backfired. A lot of my best friends betrayed me. All of my kind of attempts at romance were rejected pretty hard, or ended up in like really embarrassing situations. And yeah, like 2 or 3 years into college, I had just basically given up on relationships in general. Like I had like barely any friends left, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna fly solo. Like this is not working. Like I just was not socially equipped to be able to deal with people very well. I didn't even know it at the time, but I've been autistic my whole life. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 38. So that would have been definitely nice to know 30 years ago, to understand kind of the, differences of being neurodivergent and all that. But, it's water under the bridge. So yeah, in my 20s, I kind of like retreated from the world. I was like, I'm just going to focus on my school and getting my career underway. And I literally did nothing. I just hid from the world. I had one friend, and we were like pretty distant. So I barely even got out the house. I just pretty much pissed away my entire 20s, just living in fear of rejection and not being accepted by anybody. Changed a little bit in my 30s. I started taking risks and stepping out a little more. I found some new friend groups that had kind of, the same kind of passions. That was kind of an up and down thing, that led to more kind of crash outs and burns. I was highly depressed during this time, and I kept it to myself. I just always put on a brave face and was always the strong one. Always projected like everything was good. I never wanted to burden anybody by asking for help, and I didn't even really know how to ask for help. So, from basically when I was like 20 until pretty recently, I just lived in like suffered in silence, and just dealt with it, because that's the only way I knew how to live. I didn't know where to go to get help, because mental health wasn't really a big initiative up until a couple years ago, into the masses. I just always thought I was broken, and like something was wrong with me, and I just like, fuck it, like fuck the world, like I'm gonna stay to myself, I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm just gonna try to live comfortably. And because I was able to focus so much energy into my work, I was able to succeed in my career. I moved up and ended up, progressing in my job, and was able to make a lot of money and get accolades and success. But I never really felt fulfilled. It was always just like surface level stuff. And then the relationships not really came. I've only had like really one friend that I've ever really like truly connected with, where we could talk about some real shit. And that's just really been in the past couple of years. I tried really hard to like really cultivate a lot of relationships, especially with the last friend group that I was with. And by the time, I parted ways with them, I just realized like we weren't on the same wavelength. I had given so much time, effort, generosity, friendship to them, and no one really gave a shit, like at the end of the day. So that was a hard realization to take. So all of this being said, starting last year, there were more attempts and thoughts at suicide over the years as well. I mean, I've tried 3 or 4 times and have backed out at the last minute. It's been constantly on my mind up until recently, when I've finally been able to vanquish that demon. So again, I had a great job, everything you would need. I was always kept super positive despite all this, especially in the past like 5 or so years. I just really tried to like look at the bright side of things, even though my life was shitty, that people didn't know about. So, I just became deeply unfulfilled with how everything was going early last year in 2023. And finally something snapped in me. I was like, Like this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. Like I had mounting health issues. I really started disliking my job and what I was doing. It was just fucking boring, even though it was easy and was making me a lot of money. And then the shit I was doing every day, it was just like same old shit, different toilet, at work, come home from work, you know, doom scroll social media, eat a lot of takeout fast food. I was like in horrible physical shape. And then at nights, I would hope that my friends were around to play video games with, or I would watch sports or whatever. And that was my life, rinse and repeat, 7 days a week. And for some people, it's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, your typical dude shit. But when you do that for like 10, 15 years in a row, the shit gets old. So I was unfulfilled and I was looking for more in life. And then I really started introspecting at the beginning of last year and thinking about like, what were the different kind of things that maybe I could do to like change my life. And that's what really led me to kind of the next phase of my life. And I'll talk about that in a future video. So I don't want any pity. I know a lot of people have had it much worse than me. I have good perspective on things. There are things that I'm not mentioning here that are pretty traumatic that happened to me that we're going to keep off the record here. But just know, like, for those who do know me, that knew me last year pretty closely, you were not seeing the full picture. And I hope that helps you understand why I'm taking such drastic and radical changes in my life, because quite frankly, like, I needed to. Like, the way that it was going, like, I was not happy. And if you're not happy, you got to make some changes. And sometimes those changes, in order for them to really bear fruit, have to be pretty drastic changes. So I'm going to talk about that more in the future videos. This is already running pretty long, so I thank you for listening, and hope you check out the next couple. Thanks. Bye.